My name is Chris, call sign KI1P. Some of you might recognize my call from many amateur radio repeaters here in the state. I'm very active in repeater building here in the state. I am not a public speaker, so if you guys have any questions, stop me right where I am and feel free to ask a question anytime. I've been, just a little background on myself. I was licensed in 1987, somewhere around the 7th grade. Amateur radio took me to my career now, which is maintaining radio equipment for the state police here in Vermont. This whole project started many years ago. I was trying to solve an RF problem. I live in what I call the Valley of No RF. Living in the state of Vermont can be a blessing or a curse, depending where you're at. A blessing if you're so happen to be on a mountaintop, and a curse if you're down in the valley. My love for amateur radio is contesting, both VHF and HF, and I'm looking into granite on 3 sides of my location. So this project, like I said, started many years ago. I started operating mobile, going out. If I can't bring the signals to my house, I'm going to bring my station to where there is good signals. Let me just fast forward here. So, this project, like I started many years ago. I started operating mobile. I started roving, doing VHF contests, doing HF contests such as the New England QSO Party, Vermont QSO Party, and whatnot. And I've decked out many vehicles with my home equipment in it, but they all seem to be cumbersome. I was taking equipment from my home ham shack, putting it in the vehicle, and then after the contest, taking it all out, and that became quite a cumbersome act. Here's a photo of my last truck up on Mount Washington. I've done a few different contests from up there. You can see I'm a little bit eccentric into the hobby. About 3 or 4 years ago, a couple friends of mine went and roved for the the Vermont QSO Party. We actually roved all 14 counties, which was a feat that I don't think has been pulled off in quite some time. However, we were using compromised antennas. We're using Tar Heel antennas, mobile antennas, stuff like that. The bang for the buck wasn't there. I wanted to push the envelope, so to speak. So in July of this year, we all know we had major flooding in the state. This is where I was just so happened to be in the right place at the right time. My full-time job brought me to the floods to get communications up and going in the state capitol, where we had devastating floods and no electricity. So as I arrived that morning to do this mission, the city was a mob scene of news vans from all over the country doing live streaming. Here's a photo of us taking a boat down Main Street to get to the Capitol to get communications back on the air. How is this relative to this whole story of the ham van? Well, when I got back, my truck was, this is just one of the vans that was there, but my truck was surrounded by news vans from all over the Northeast. So I was tired, hot, and really hungry after doing this mission. All I wanted to do was go home and take a shower. But I knew this might be my only chance to take a look at one of these news vans. And being a ham, I wasn't seeing a news van. I was seeing a mobile ham shack. So I waited and finally got a tour of one. As I introduced myself, I said I was into amateur radio. The engineer brought me in the back, said his boss was a ham operator, and he was very familiar with the hobby. And I asked him if anything like this ever came up for sale on the used market, thinking this is still way, way out of my league. He then humored me. He said, do you want one mast or two masts? Do you want air conditioning? Do you want an air compressor? Do you need a generator? Do you need coax? Do you need this? And he started listing off all these items. He said he knew where I could get one cheap, real cheap. I didn't think anything of it. I thought real cheap was $30,000 looking at the vans that they had there. We exchanged cards and life went on. In September, I got a phone call saying, are you going to come down and pick this van up? It's sitting here waiting for you. So a lot of research and video calls back and forth came to an agreement on a really cheap price to pick up this van. So a few things about the van. It is old. It's a 1997 Ford E350, but it only had 54,000 miles on it at the time that I picked it up. It had been stored indoors, heated all winter, air conditioned all summer, immaculately taken care of, no rust on it anywhere. But it was in a little bit of disarray. So this is what I had to deal with. So this is what I had to deal with picking up the van. This is the condition that it was in. There's 3 racks pointed to the rear, and this other 19-inch rack, which is behind the seat, is just behind the driver's seat to kind of give you a idea of how it's laid out. How come I'm not? Here's the rear of the van. Some more photos of inside the van. As you can tell in these photos, it's old, but in pretty good shape. No rust. Very well taken care of. On it, it has 2 pneumatic masts. These are run off an onboard air compressor. The rear mast is just shy of 50 feet, and the forward mast is just shy of 40 feet. They come all the way through to the floor, yes, and they're run off an air compressor. Also on the side here is a box that houses its own 7K Cummins generator. It has a rooftop air conditioner on top for AC and heat. Outside lights, tower lights that light up the tower at night, so you can look up and see which way your antennas are pointed. It came with a onboard battery charger, the 19-inch racks, and then the roof of this thing has 18 NMO mounts on the top. So if you thought your vehicle was a porcupine with the 4 or 5 antennas that a few hams have on there, this thing has 18 of them. They use those NMO mounts for listening to police, fire, scanners, stuff like that, to be Johnny on the spot to report news as it happened, as well as several cellular amplifiers to upload their video when they didn't have a microwave link. Came with great tires. On the roof of this thing, you'll see It has these spiral red cords going up it. Those are about 2 inches in diameter. They remind me of PEX pipe. There is a name for them. Can't bring it to my mind right now, but those have all the coax cables and rotor cables going in there. So when you get to a spot, you do not need to set anything up. Everything is already pre-wired. Also on board, it came with a 3000 pure sine wave inverter and soundproofing. There's the rear mast sitting at just about 60 feet because I stuck a little extension on there. So this is revision 1 that I did. I've moved this equipment several times around trying to optimize it for contesting so I can sit in one spot and get access to everything. This is revision 1 that I did. This equipment several times. That's a view looking down at the roof, the top deck. There's those PEX pipe tubes that house all the coax cables, and you can see the 18 NMO mounts around the outside. So this van had a 6 gig dish on it. This van is kind of a unicorn. I've talked with a lot of people who have been in the industry, both television and broadcast, and they said this type of van almost doesn't exist in the sense that it has 2 masts. Most only have 1 and a satellite link up. Go ahead, Gordon. I put it this, I'm a very, very frugal person. And it paid, I don't want to release how much it was, but it was a extremely low amount. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Right, this was, the life of this van was going to go to the junkyard. They did not think anybody would do anything with this van, and it was either, I was told they were looking at people who were going to charge them to take it away and get rid of it for scrap metal. It's actually the engineers that I met in Montpelier that are responsible for me getting this. The engineer who I met in Montpelier during that day built this van, designed it and built it. He knew every square inch of it, and him and along with 2 other engineers really did not want to see this thing go to the scrapyard. So they were very happy that it was going to have a life after after its life as a TV news van. So while I was there, I got a tour of NBC Studios. This is the room that the van was parked in up until COVID. So it was stored indoors, heated and air conditioned, like I said. But come COVID, it got put out to the back 40, and it sat there for the 3 or 4 years of COVID not being run. So here at NBC Studios, I got to see vehicles that are deployed all over the world. This is its younger sister, set up pretty much identically to it. Huge room filled with all kinds of vehicles. The one with the big ball on the back went to Afghanistan to upload via satellite. That satellite will move inside the sphere no matter where they go. And they've done some pretty incredible stuff with some vans and putting stuff in there. So now we're about ready to head back to Vermont. Yep. I went and got it in the Bronx, just out in New York City. So yeah, we bringing it back was definitely a adventure. We had a strap break right outside of the Bronx, and had to stop in very heavy traffic to fix that strap. That was exciting. Here's just a couple of photos of the height of the mast. And so I got it home and discovered it had some problems. I am not a mechanic. I'm a ham, but not a mechanic. But I do have access to a phone with YouTube, so I started Googling all these things. Problem is, I picked it up just after Nearfest. So this is early November, and it's getting cold outside. I don't have a shop. So I cut out the catalytic converter and took care of that. Changed some O2 sensors. And I also had to drop the fuel tank and replace the fuel pump in there. I did that in just before Christmas, laying in the mud and snow and working on it at night and wondering if this would ever come to life. So everything you see here, I've done really since the first of the year, because it was after Christmas that I finally got the vehicle running good and felt I could drive it. Current gear. So what is in this van? It's not just a van with a couple masts. My whole ham shack from home is in this. The main radio is a Flex 6000 series radio. This allows me to operate from the van, from the front of the van, from outside of the van with an iPad, from inside the house, or anywhere in the world for that matter that has an internet connection. This vehicle is my home ham shack, so it's parked at home. It's plugged in with Cat 5 and external antennas and 30 amp electrical connection. The backup to the Flex 6000 series radio is a Yaesu 847 for backup for HF. That also doubles as my VHF, UHF satellite antenna setup. I have this hooked up to VHF and UHF antennas on a G5500 rotor, so it will track satellites just with a press of a button. I also have a a Yaesu 736 is my backup for VHF and UHF contests. That covers 6 meters through 1.2 gig. On board, there's also a ICOM 706, an ICOM 7000. Those are used for backup for HF. Being into contesting, I want to look and see if there's band openings going on other bands before I change to them. I've also had this set up to run 5 bands at once on FT8. So FT8 can be kind of boring, but not so boring when you're running 5 bands at the same time. On board, it has 2 Ameritron amplifiers, one good for 1200 watts and one good for about 800 watts. Desktop PC and 4 monitors. There's 2 monitors that you're seeing here, and there's 2 more on the walls of the doors. If you go out and see this afterwards, I've got monitors on the doors, so if I'm doing a PR event, the public can see the same monitors that the operator is seeing inside. There is. I'm getting to that, actually. Yeah. On board, I also have Motorola XTL radios. If anybody's familiar with public safety radios, these are P25 radios for VHF and UHF. They have dual heads, one, up front and in the back. I have a pair of Motorola 4550s for VHF and UHF DMR. And they also have a box on there for cross patching, so I can patch any VHF channel to any UHF channel, whether it be analog or DMR, back and forth. There's also a Motorola Spectra for 900 megs and an APRS node. Right now, that APRS node is just beaconing my location. I have future plans to make it into a digipeater as well as beaconing my position. There's also a gang charger with a whole fleet of VHF and UHF radios on there. So if I'm doing a public service event, such as a bike race or something, someone needs a radio, I can grab those. Also, it has a GE Master 3 UHF repeater, 100-watt repeater, as well as a Motorola XPR 8300 for a DMR repeater, and it also has a Motorola GR300 VHF repeater. So I got 3 repeaters on board. So any event such as a bike-a-thon or whatever, I can go put those up. I'm currently working on decking it out with some pyramid vehicle repeaters. So the vehicle repeaters allow me to take my portable radio and walk around the house or anywhere else and operate the radio equipment that's inside the van. Got 2 rotor controllers. One of them is hooked to a computer, so I can change the settings of the rotor remotely via the internet if I'm not home. And then as far as cooling off that long trail ale, yes, I have a fridge, I have a Keurig coffee maker, and I have a microwave. And I designed those all so sitting in the hot seat in the back, I don't need to stop contesting to pour myself a cup of coffee, grab myself a beer, or nuke the burrito to keep myself going. Yes. For antennas right now, HF, they're all really basic antennas. I've got just simple dipoles, but I'm a firm believer in resident antennas. So I have a separate antenna for 40, 80, 20, 15, and 10. All those dipoles are permanently mounted to the mast. So when I pull up to a location, such as doing the QSO party this couple weeks ago, all I need to do is pull up, release the dipoles, which are coiled up on the side, and put the mast up. The mast is up in 5 minutes, and I stretch the ends of the wire out, tie them off to a tree, and I'm on the air. On the rear mast, oh, sorry, here's the sleeping area in the back. So I've got a 10-inch memory foam mattress in the back. Here's its current setup. Getting a little off track here. On the rear mast is a 6-meter rotatable dipole that's soon going to become a 3-element Yagi. On the front, I've got VHF and UHF Yagis, experimenting with some moon bounce there as well. And on the rear of the vehicle is a screwdriver antenna for 80 through 6, so I can operate well in motion. So plans moving forward. Want to do a lot of contesting here, such as the New England QSO party, the Vermont QSO party, Maine has its own QSO party, New Hampshire has its own, New York has its own. Also doing a lot of VHF contests, June, July, September, and January. And the other big thing I plan on doing with this vehicle is a lot of PR events. I want to go on a tour pretty much of local schools, high schools, and community events, showing them what amateur radio is, and get people enthused in amateur radio. I've been a ham since age 11, and I'm seeing a decrease in active hams. I want to make sure there's some hams still left when I turn 60 to be able to talk to. I will be bringing this to the Dayton Hamvention, and if anybody knows of any maker fairs, please let me know. I'd love to bring that van there as well. Also, as I said earlier, it is set up for public service events. Our club does communications for the Vermont 100 and the Groton Forest Run. Groton Forest Run is out in the middle of the boonies. There is not much RF out there, so hopefully we can utilize this vehicle there. And Field Day. Field Day is probably the biggest event that I plan on using this van for. I can roll up, have the antennas up on the air in 10 minutes, and anyone else who wants to come along can just plug into my network and plug into the AC power coming off the side, and it'd be good. One of the things I didn't mention earlier is about the, well, I guess I'm getting to that based on my notes. In addition to the onboard IP switch, I'm very redundant as far as power for this. I can hook into a 30 amp extension cord, plug it into the house. It's got its own onboard generator. It's got its own inverter, and it has 900 amp hours of battery power. So if you want to do a POTA event, pull into a park, run the generator all day. Now it comes nighttime, need to be quiet, shut the generator off, go to battery power, and should have enough battery power to last the night, operating what I call low power, 100 watts throughout the night. The generator is 7K. It's gas, and the line for the generator, I found this out when I dropped the tank. The line for the generator is actually 3 inches above the line for pickup for the engine. So if I run dry out there operating on the generator, I still should be able to start the vehicle and get home. 2 different battery systems, so I can press boost on one to charge the batteries on the other side. Right now, my internet connection is very basic. It's coming off my phone. My phone gives out a Wi-Fi hotspot that is then picked up by a Wi-Fi to Ethernet adapter that goes into the switch. The switch has two ports on it, so it has 2 internet service providers. So one can be plugged into the house, the other always plugged into this Wi-Fi to Ethernet. I do have plans to hopefully go to Starlink at some point. The idea of going to Starlink would be if any of you want to operate my station while we do the New England QSO party, great, hop on, stay at home, hang out in your living room, and we'll be out going from park to park, and you can join in the action by logging into the Flex radio. Right now there's 1 Flex, but I have 2 more Flexes at home that I'm hopefully going to be installing in the van. How are we doing as far as time? Anyone want to hear about its maiden voyage this last? Okay. So its maiden voyage was the Vermont QSO party, which was 2 weeks ago, I believe. I wasn't quite prepared for it, but I needed a event to test everything, to get out on the road, find out what's loose, and figure out what needs to be fixed. So I took the day Friday off, went to the store, made a nice big beef stew in a crock pot, put the crock pot in the back of the van, plugged it in, and the beef stew simmered throughout the whole weekend. I got a late start Friday night. Didn't get to the first site until 11 o'clock at night. That was due to my daughter having a concert. Arrived, I should mention here that I did the Vermont QSO party in conjunction with Parks on the Air. To me, it seems like Parks on the air, everyone's getting a pile up these days, no matter what. So I posted my itinerary on the POTA page and everybody followed me. I arrived in Little River State Park, Washington County, about 11 o'clock at night, and soon found I had generator problems. I had not gotten my onboard generator working yet, so I was working off a little Honda generator that I placed outside, and it just didn't cut it for the power issues. Every time the masts wanted to top themselves off with air, the air compressor would turn on, I'd have a voltage spike, and I'd be in the middle of a pileup, and the computer would crash, the radio would crash, and the generator would go off, and so I'd have to deal with that. From there, I went to Sandbar State Park in Chittenden County, and as I'm out there, I pull in, and I'm looking out at the lake, and I see all these ice fishermen out there, and I'm thinking, who the heck would do this? Go out onto a frozen lake in the cold to dunk a little string in and catch a fish. And then I sat back and said, oh, I'm the one that's up here with a van messing around with antennas in the frozen parking lot trying to talk to people that I could do on the internet. From Sandbar State Park, I then spent the night at Grand Isle State Park, and then off to Elmore State Park in Lamoille County, and then finished my rove in Crystal Lake State Park over in Orleans. So I did find a lot of hiccups along the way, still managed to get 1,200 contacts or so, and I was happy I reached my 1,000 contact goal, but unhappy because seeing all the things that did go wrong, I now wanted to go home and fix them all. So I spent the trip home from Barton dictating into my phone of all the things that I could see to fix and repair. And I got home, I took another couple of days off from work and started gutting the whole inside and got the rear generator working. Everything is up to snuff now. Still have plans for the future, but this is it for now. This is what I've done since January 1st, basically. Any questions? Or
Do you accept comments, Chris? Truly amazing.
Wait for the microphone.
Okay, thanks.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Can I operate from where?
The bunk.
The bunk, yes. Oh, I didn't mention that. So I have several ways of operating. The main operation in the rear of the van. In the front of the van, I have an iPad, and that controls the radios in the back. And when you get tired and you are falling asleep, you hop into the back, and there's a laptop in the back, so I can log into and run the Flex, either mostly FT8, you know, you're kind of dozing off to sleep, and run some FT8 from the back. So yes.
Return on investment, you mentioned you're a very frugal person. You put a lot of time in there, you acquired it for a low price. So up to now, I guess the return on investment, you put a lot of time also, energy and passion in it. So return on investment is really high, isn't it?
It is. So, that's one of the things I wanted to mention earlier. So sitting in the Valley of No RF, as I call it in my neighborhood, I got a couple options. I can either buy property at a high location in the state, and everybody knows what property values is like these days. That ain't gonna happen. Or I could build a 100-foot tower in the backyard. Between my wife and the neighbors, that ain't gonna happen. So the cost of what I put into this mobile setup is a fraction of the cost of being able to do the same thing from another site. I'm not going to compete with the K3LRs of the world, but this gets me to a little bit more level playing ground with some of the other avid contesters in the area.
Just wondering if you had plans for the upcoming eclipse, if you were going to have a site anywhere.
That's a loaded question. I don't know yet, because my job with the state of Vermont has got me on standby to go move portable equipment all over the state chasing that and setting up mobile cellular repeaters and stuff. So I don't think I'll be on for that.
I ran and operated for the Eclipse for you.
Okay.
Schedule for your public service events?
I'm willing to take any suggestions. If somebody has a public service event that they want more comms on, speak to me. I'm starting to put together a schedule that's pretty busy between all the VHF contests that I'm doing, all the other rows for HF contests, and PR events and public safety events. So contact me, I'll put you on the list. Any other questions? I will be out at my van for the next couple hours if anybody wants to come out and see it. I don't have HF up and running right now because I had to move the van to a slightly different spot to get the towers up. So.
Thank you.